Hey guys, we are working on Chapter 2, Section 3, Cycling of Matter. Here are the essential questions. How do nutrients move through biotic and abiotic parts of an ecosystem? Why are nutrients important to living things? And what are the biogeochemical cycles of nutrients and how are they alike? Only a few vocabulary words today, okay? If you haven't finished those, please pause the video and go finish those now. Cycles in the biosphere. Natural processes cycle matter and nutrients through the biosphere. Matter is anything that takes up space and has mass. A nutrient is a chemical substance that an organism needs to obtain from its environment in order to survive. The cycling of nutrients through the biosphere involves both living organisms and physical processes. The exchange of matter through the biosphere is called the biogeochemical cycle. So it has biological elements, geological elements, and chemical elements. So it goes through living things and non-living things. And it is a cycle, meaning that it goes around and around and around. It happens over and over and over again. The water cycle. Water evaporates from bodies of water, soil, and organisms. Water returns to the atmosphere in the form of precipitation. Okay. All living organisms rely on fresh water, which constitutes only about 3% of water on Earth. Here we have a diagram of the water cycle. Hopefully you remember this from middle school. So we start with water down here on Earth, either in a groundwater aquifer, in a lake, or in the ocean. When it gains enough energy, it evaporates. All right. Once it's up in the atmosphere, it will condense into clouds. When the clouds get too heavy to hold onto all of that water, precipitation falls back to the earth, and the cycle starts all over again. Now you'll notice transpiration is happening in the plants. That is sort of like evaporation, but it is water that is coming out of the plants. All right, here we have the carbon and oxygen cycles. Carbon and oxygen often make up molecules essential for life. Carbon and oxygen recycle relatively quickly through living organisms. Carbon and oxygen enter a long-term cycle when dead matter is buried. So this cycle is a process that flows through the processes of photosynthesis and cellular respiration. They are very interconnected, and we will spend a whole chapter talking about each of those things and how they work together. Here we have a diagram showing the movement of those gases. Okay, CO2 up here in the atmosphere, dissolved CO2 in the water. Same thing with oxygen. Oxygen is constantly being put back into the atmosphere by plants. All right, animals are always breathing carbon dioxide out, and it is a cycle that goes around and around. The nitrogen cycle. The capture and conversion of nitrogen into a form that is usable by plants is called nitrogen fixation. Nitrogen is fixed by bacteria or electrical storms. When lightning strikes, it has a lot of energy, and it will actually take nitrogen atoms in the atmosphere, in the air, and it will cause a chemical reaction to occur and turn them into a molecule that can then be absorbed by plants. Nitrogen returns to the atmosphere through denitrification, which is where bacteria convert that usable nitrogen back into unusable. Okay, so some bacteria fix nitrogen into a usable form, and some of them break it down from the usable form back into the unusable form. Okay, nitrogen is an important element in all living things. It is a part of every single one of our cells. It is part of the proteins that our bodies make, so it is very, very important that we have nitrogen in our diets. You can see this cycle happening over here. Okay, so take a moment, study that diagram, and we'll move on. The phosphorus cycle. Phosphorus is essential for the growth and development of organisms. Phosphorus cycles quickly as phosphates through sediment, plants, and consumers. Long-term phosphorus is weathered or eroded from rocks and added to the cycle. Phosphorus is an element that we have to have in our bodies in order for cells to continue to divide. So it's important that we consume phosphorus in our diets. Now here you can see a diagram showing how it moves from plants into animals, back into the soil, and how it cycles through. So take a moment, study that diagram, and we'll move on. Well, it looks like that's it, guys. I thought we had another cycle. Here are our essential questions one more time. How do nutrients move through biotic and abiotic parts of an ecosystem? Why are nutrients important to living things? And what are the biogeochemical cycles of nutrients and how are they alike? Well, hopefully you can answer all 3 of those questions. If you cannot, please rewind the video and get some clarification. If that doesn't work, shoot me an email or ask me in class tomorrow.